We have Teren, he, him from California. How you doing today?
Hi, great. I love the show. What's up?
Hi. What did you want to ask us about?
I just wanted to ask, what can primatology or the study of like primates in general teach us about like transgender people?
Oh, that's an awesome question, Taryn. Seriously. It's really interesting because Puck and I kind of talked about this when we were setting up the show. The idea of gender roles in other primates, it's a really interesting question to ask because they are indeed incredibly fluid. There are classic kind of male and female roles within a troop that individual primates can take, and I'm mostly speaking about cercopithecoids, so your social ground monkeys, baboons, macaques, catarrhines, including us and the rest of the apes. But as an interesting kind of anecdotal story that I want to tell about this kind of a primate changing from one specific, easily identifiable as far as putting it on into numbers on a sheet to a completely different role. One of my colleagues worked with vervet monkeys. They're adorable little ground monkey that lives in South Africa. And she was watching this troop of individual monkeys, and there was this alpha male of the group. These guys do indeed have an alpha male, a male that decides effectively when the group moves from feeding spot to feeding spot. And this male disappeared. And it was a female, a female, biologically identified female, I suppose you'd say, assigned female at birth, who came up and took that alpha male's position and began to fall. She fell directly into the roles that were traditionally assigned to this alpha male, quote unquote. This included moving the troop around, fighting with other adjacent males, et cetera, et cetera. And so that when we were talking about this, I was like, that's really interesting. It's fluid in the sense that you can have easily definable males and easily definable females and everything in between, but you can also see the movement from something that's quote unquote easily definable as female to male, and I would imagine as well vice versa. So we're seeing what is maybe a very basal version of what happens in our own species, which is to say that again we're looking at something that's inherently natural.
I remember
I
when we were
was
talking about this, we
wondering
like
too.
thought that this was going to be one of those things that's going to end up on the cutting room floor. We
Yeah.
left out a lot of material, so it's fantastic that you're calling and asking about this because this is something that we thought, you know what, we only have so much of a show, but thank you very much for coming up with this topic. I cut you off though. What else did you want to ask about?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, primates don't have clinics where primates can opt, or sorry, not primates, like these little monkeys don't have clinics they run
Yeah.
where people can be like, can I take cross-sex hormones? But obviously,
Right.
you see like different. I mean, this is more of like fish and like marine life, but there's obviously the clownfish which can change sex depending on what's
Yep.
needed to reproduce. Do they see any like sexual dimorphism like that in any primate species where they just like switch sexes?
Well, that's really interesting. We don't tend to see it, at least as far as I know, as far as a general morphology changing from something that is typically dimorphic. But the reason that we don't see that is usually the dimorphism in most primates tends to occur when they're still developing and kind of figuring out their
Right.
role, I suppose you would say, which makes it difficult for them to. They don't tend to have that biological equipment that certain types of clownfish, certain types of wrasse and things like that can do. But that being
Right.
said, I wouldn't imagine something that's kind of analogous. I guess you would. I don't know. I'm going to throw this out there, and you can maybe tell me what you think. There are certain kinds of morphologic change that occur within these kind of assigned binaries that we give primates. And again, I want to emphasize that the roles that we kind of give them are broad generalizations. We give them the roles based off of the identifying characteristics that we can see, so we can better track them and things like that in observations. To kind of assign a motivation to that would be outside of my understanding for sure. But in like orangutans and certain kinds of mandrills, there are two types of morphology for males, right? So we have flanged males in orangutans. They're the ones with those big, cool dish-like faces. And then there are unflanged males that don't have that. And males that have these flanges can transition to an unflanged male, which looks very much like a female and is often misinterpreted as a female by other males throughout their lifetime. They can go two-flanged and back to unflanged. And so it does speak to kind of a flexible morphology within our, not just our order, but our family with other hominids being capable of kind of moving within our our meaning humans assigning the binary to them. So who is to say that that flexibility were the kind of, as you mentioned, they don't have access to like clinics or anything like that, but who's to say that that morphology isn't as flexible sort of mentally and emotionally speaking as it is physically?
True. I never thought of it that way. I mean, obviously, I'm not well educated on you on this topic, but like, it's fascinating to think that like, I mean, this is maybe a sci-fi novel, but do you ever think that it would be like a kind of like a Planet of the Apes, where even if we had these like orangutan chimpanzee societies, that maybe they would have something akin to like hormone therapy or something like that? I don't know. That's a little like more offbeat, but honestly, I don't know.
It's honestly not. I really don't think it is. I think you're dead on. There is absolute, considering we share 98.8% of our DNA with these guys. To me, they're, and this is speculating, of course, because I can't speak to that. It hasn't happened, but I see absolutely no reason as to why their systems wouldn't be equally as complex as our own, and that includes their gender roles and everything in between.
Interesting. That is like, so that's an idea for a Planet of the Apes
That'd be so cool.
fiction. No, I'm kidding.
That'd be so cool.
Well, I appreciate your taking my call. I don't want to keep you guys too long. I know you probably have other callers and other stuff to get on to, so.
No, but thank you for bringing this topic up, you know, because there's probably like 5 or 6 things we decided we didn't have time for. This was one of them. So I'm
glad we got to touch on it.
Talked about it. Thank you very much, Teren. Have a great night.
Thank you, Teren.
All right, you too. Awesome. Have a good one. Bye.